What have I been up to? Exercising loads, enjoying the weather. Invited to a dinner with Michael Watson. Had loads of people contacting me in the lead up to Fisher versus Allen 2 to say blah, 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 this, that, and the other treatment. I've just tried to ignore it all and say, look, it's just emotion. It's just boxing. I went to the press conference last Wednesday, but I was in the studio on Saturday. I got blanked by the Fishers. They're not hostile. They're just that there's no. I'm persona non grata, if I can put it that way. It's been a really good week. I've been reading loads. There's a lot going on. The welterweight division is getting very sexy. I've been reading a lot about the welterweight division. I'm going to delve into that with you today, whether you like it or not, because I think it's going to be the division in about 6 months' time. The division globally.
Globally?
Yeah, globally, yeah. Because Jack Catterall and Harlem Eubank are fighting at welterweight. Josh Taylor and Ekow Essuman this weekend. Josh Taylor's moving to welterweight. Teofimo Lopez moving to welterweight. Conor Ben's at welterweight. Ryan Garcia, Boots Ennis. Who else? Devin Haney. Everyone's moving to welterweight. It's the division outside the big heavyweight fights right now. It will be the division, in my view. What have you been up to, my friend?
Just busy, a bit of football and boxing, juggling both of the sports that I love dearly. Went and did a bit of build-up, the FA Cup final.
I listened to it. It's a great show. You and Rory. I was driving.
Yes, me and Mr. Jennings.
Fantastic show.
Me and Mr. Jennings. And then hop skipped to the Copper Box or the Copper Bosch, which was, honestly, we've been spoiled a bit recently. We've had some really good sort of atmospheres at fights. I was kind of just taking my mind back to sort of Paddy Donovan, Lewis Crocker, 6-7 weeks ago, which was obviously very, very good and very loud. Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron. Then obviously you had Eubank Burn, which we're not going to forget in a long time. Lee Wood, Kakachi at the Motor Point, and then the Copper Box, Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen. So we've been lucky. We've had this kind of roll. And obviously on the weekend we go to the Hydro, which I've never been before. My first time going to the Hydro, which you're shaking your head. So that means it must be really loud there as well. So it's going to be a good sort of 2-month run for boxing on these shores.
I saw Josh Taylor win his Commonwealth gold medal there in 2014 for Scotland. The Hydro is circular. It's got a balcony. It's got an amazing acoustics. The Scottish, as you know, the Glaswegians are incredible fight fans. Josh Taylor's fought 10 times in his career there and never lost in Scotland, several times at the Hydro. It's going to be like a cauldron. We will find out what Josh Taylor's got left against a man who is a machine. He's known as the machine in Ekow Essuman. I'm really excited about it. It's been a not a quiet week, but there's been a lot of kind of interesting news around. I know we'll delve into it later, but the shift of Crawford Canelo to Saturday and to a different venue in America is fascinating for me. And the shift to Riyadh Season doing it and Sella doing it, not TKO and Dana White. That's interesting. I don't think it's a fallout. I think it's a logistical thing because there's an event in Guadalajara with the UFC that weekend, so I think they're focused on that. There's a lot of things going on at the moment. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's interesting that you think that's it. I can't wait to kind of sort of pick your bones on that one because I agree. I find that very strange because that was their big thing, right? The coming out party of TKO was Canelo Crawford, and now all of a sudden it's no longer. But enough of that. Let's get to the main course straight away. The main course being what happened at the Copper Box. Obviously, this is a rematch from a fight that happened in December in Saudi, where I think many think Dave Allen was unlucky not to get his hand raised. Johnny Fisher kept his O. They ran it back, and Dave Allen was destructive on the night. Just almost looked a couple of levels above Johnny Fisher on the night, and his finish, that body hook, was just brutal. And it was the biggest win of Dave Allen's career, some would say, right? I mean, redemption, some would say. How did you see it on the night?
Well, again, Fisher winning the first 4 rounds. I was watching in the green room at talkSPORT, and because the fight started about 9:40 p.m., there were 4 rounds. They had the ring walks at 9:40. 4 rounds that took us to 10 o'clock. Johnny Fisher looked good, but Dave Allen was walking him down. I was thinking, we need to land some heavy punches here, even though the first round was close. Fisher, I
Mm,
gave the first 4 rounds to. It was a very clinical, very brutal finish by a man who was conditioned right this time, in almost a mirror image of that first fight, that
yeah,
controversial first fight. He was so well conditioned this time, he wasn't letting Johnny Fisher off the hook. Like you say, body, left talking punch across the chin of Johnny Fisher, and even an uppercut on the way down.
yeah,
He managed to drop in there as well. I mean, it was viral. It went viral. It was on X. It had like, I don't know, 750,000 views within an hour. It was really big. It was the knockout of the year in my view so far. Absolutely
yeah,
brutal, clinical, concise, and also classy. Because Dave Allen could see that Johnny Fisher had fallen badly and he was being administered air. Robert Smith was in there, the secretary of the Boxing Board of Control, with concern. And Dave Allen put his hands up and moved away as if to say, I'm not going to celebrate big here. I want to make sure my opponent, my enemy for now my friend is fine in there. He righted the wrongs, or he put the wrongs right from what happened in December, where I will maintain this. He still won that fight in
yeah.
December. And this time he did not leave it in the hands of the judges.
Yeah, and I think he made a point of that as well. Like he started um, a bit faster. As you say, Johnny maybe might have won the first 3 or 4 rounds, but you almost felt like it was inevitable unless Johnny landed a big right hand or did something to stop the Rhino coming forward, and he couldn't stop him coming forward. So it was almost a case of Dave saying, "Look, we're not going to the judges this time because this is your home patch. You're the big superstar. You're the one with the unbeaten record. I'm the guy that's lost a few. We're not going points. I'm going to get this done," and he done it emphatically. You've known Dave for years, right? You've been to a lot of his fights. He's had his ups and downs. There were times when you thought, okay, it's done. His time with the sport's over. This redemption arcs, we I feel like in the heavyweight boxing we always speak about redemption arcs. I mean, Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker. This is the Dave Allen story now. How surprised are you, or are you surprised that he's now almost made a bit of a U-turn in his career?
Well, I think they underestimated. I think Matchroom and Eddie Hearn and Johnny Fisher and his team underestimated who they were up against. You can put it that way. I mean, this is a guy that's been in with Tony Yoka, the Olympic champion, Fraser Clark, the
Mm,
Olympic bronze medalist, Luis Ortiz, Dillian White, world title challengers, who fought Fury and Wilder, who've been on big occasions. Um, David Price as well, the biggest heavyweight puncher we had in the UK at one time. He's been in with a lot of guys. He's got heavyweight fights in the pro ranks over 30, numbering over 30. He's very deceptive in terms of what size he is, because
yeah,
he is rhino in build. He's got the belly. He's got the huge tree
big
trunk
thighs.
legs. He's
Yeah.
got tree trunk. He is a tree trunk, isn't he? Basically, he's a tree trunk with arms and legs. That are big branches. He's a big man. He doesn't. And you don't think he's that big, but once you're
Agreed.
next to him, he is a big. I might have said this to you before. He always reminds me of the size when I've been around international rugby players, big Boers, big South Africans, or big Australians. He's the size of an Australian or South African farmer. Do you know what I mean? Who's hay
Yeah,
baling the
yeah,
whole time. A big man. And I think he's very clever on the inside. As he walked Fisher down, Fisher, like I say, you said it perfectly. Fisher was winning the rounds, but he didn't land anything big. And as Dave got closer, and you started to go, whoa, when the overhand rights came, and once he got him at close quarters, he's very dangerous. Now, yes, it was redemption, rejuvenation for Dave Allen, but what was he really up against? He was up against an area champion. We have to put it in the context of how good is Johnny Fisher? How far can he go? And Dave Allen, between the lines, Addy, in the two fights, said they don't realise who they're fighting here. This guy, he said it in the first fight, I can beat this guy without really training. And he did beat him without really training hard. When he was conditioned, he beat him easily, stopped him and knocked him out. They're different levels, these guys.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think they underestimated Dave Allen, but it's easy to underestimate him. I
Okay,
underestimated him, if I'm honest, as well.
on the flip side of that, then, should we be careful in not overestimating what next for Dave Allen? Have we got to be a bit careful because the search is on now for the next, I guess, big payday for Dave Allen. And I agree, correctly put, he beat someone that was English level. So should we be very careful in, all right, Dave, next you should be fighting A, B, C, and D, knowing that, okay, but that's the level he beat. Or do they just chuck him in with Adelaide, who potentially will beat Jimmy TKV, and they go for the British title?
Yeah, or a rematch with Dillian White right now might be quite good.
Yeah, it could be quite tasty.
Exactly.
It could be quite tasty.
That whets the appetite. Dillian might not want it because Dillian might want a bigger name. Dillian might want a big payday. David Adelaide is a tough fight for Dave Allen, but it's one that makes the mouth water, definitely as well.
And Adelaide would be happy to play the bad guy in that. He'll take on the role of the villain all day long, and Dave Allen will take the role as the people's champion, so it could sell quite well.
Yeah, Dave's very compelling. His mental health story is compelling. The story, was it you that put him on air to his wife or girlfriend, where they said they're getting the ensuite now in the ring after?
No, Jamie Ward.
Oh, because you were doing studio. I just thought that was all interesting. His mental health struggles is a great story. He's such a quirky character. He's so down on himself quite a lot of the time. He's very endearing. So he's got all the X factors, and he crossed over because everybody knows who Johnny Fisher is. It was a bronze size event that was made into a bit of gold by the fact that the copper box was sold out. The atmosphere looked incredible in there.
It was. Honestly, it was.
I just think Dave Allen's stock has risen. Because most people wanted him to put the record straight from the fight. Most people watching thought that the boxing gods were smiling on Johnny Fisher back in December when he got the decision, when he got the split decision victory, and I think most people were pleased for Dave Allen that he got the victory. The cruel ones celebrated how he did it.
Yeah. I mean, that I don't like. I don't agree with that at all. Boxing's a dangerous sport, and yes, Johnny Fisher's maybe got sort of people behind him that will scream and shout for him. But I've spoken to Johnny so many times. He's a great kid. To see him get sort of flatlined like that was quite scary ringside, because the way the paramedics rushed in as well, you start really thinking the worst when you see a knockout like that. All right, that's a good segue. Let's move on to Johnny Fisher. What next? How do you rebuild the Johnny Fisher story? Like, what does Eddie and the team have to do here?
Well, for a man who was out before he hit the canvas, I thought he responded very well afterwards in post-fight interviews. He didn't shy away from it, nor did his family, frankly. They were all there with him in the dressing room. I thought the interviews afterwards, the emotion he showed was again endearing. I thought he handled himself well. I liked how he spoke about my unbeaten record's gone now, so I'm just going to go in there and fight. Admitted that he probably fought the wrong fight in terms of didn't land enough heavy punches in those first 4 rounds, which Dave Allen said as well. When he hit me to the body, I felt it. And so the jab, it wasn't the pitter-pattered jab. This is an 18-stone man, but Dave Allen played it like a wily old fox. He old manned him in there. So Johnny got outfought and outthought maybe by the wisdom in terms of fighting IQ of Dave Allen. So he will have learnt again from that. I thought the whole way that he fronted up afterwards was commendable. I don't see who he fights next, but it's a build again to fight for the British title. He's got to dust himself down. He's got to dust himself down, rebuild, build his confidence again, and maybe do what he said he's going to do, which is go out there, lose 5, and win 20. And just give us entertaining fights and fight for the British title at some point. At the moment, he doesn't look, I mean, everyone has been obsessed with how far can Johnny Fisher go. At the moment, he's going to struggle against that level that is there beyond David Adeleye in the British title. That's my view on it at the moment, because your Furies, your Joshuas, this is British fighters, Wardley, Dubois. These guys they're not within reach. They may never be within reach.
I just wonder if the issue or the struggle is because he sells a lot of tickets. You're not getting guys at that level that can push 8,000-9,000 tickets that easily. And I guess fans are going to want to see, if you're paying money to go and see him, you're going to want to see him in with someone of note. But I think the rebuild is going to have to be a slow one. He goes back to fighting on the undercards, which is fine, and build him slowly. And yeah, look, I think it's easy for me to say sitting down, but I do think tactically maybe the team got it wrong. You go back and watch the first fight, and Dave Allen only won it by a round. It was close, and it's almost as though they've changed so much because of that defeat. And I was thinking, use your strengths. What you're good at is being on the front foot and bashing people up, not this fleet-footed boxer on the back foot. So I feel like maybe the team got it wrong.
The bull was tethered, and that's how he fought.
There you go.
To use that analogy. I completely agree with you, but Johnny Fisher agrees with us as well that he fought the wrong fight. He said it within a couple of hours. And, I just want to put it out there, because a lot of people have contacted me afterwards in terms of, oh, you must be pleased. Of course I'm not pleased. I'm pleased for Dave Allen, but I commiserate with Johnny Fisher. And I didn't like seeing him badly knocked out like that. It will take some picking of himself up again to get going, but he doesn't want to give up the ghost. And like you say, the difficulty he's had is that he's a neophyte, barely any amateur career, university grad in history, bright man, fascinating family, big following. The guy who can sell out 8,000 is a big ticket seller. It doesn't sound a lot, but it's a big ticket seller because he's got the ability to cross over. He's got his father that does Bosch and does his things, who's got 500,000 followers, more than Johnny on Instagram. So it'll be interesting to see how he rebuilds. But I want to put this out there. If he was offering an interview at any point for talkSPORT to go and interview him, if he wanted to do interviews in the rebuild, I'd be there in a shot to interview.
I was gonna ask that. Like, has there been an olive branch, maybe some sort of resolution between you and Big John, you and Johnny Fisher, maybe? Is there anything? Bear in mind what the relationship was like prior to December. You guys were very close. I spoke a lot.
I haven't been sent the Chinese menu, put it that way, since in the last few days. No, I haven't been.
Have you reached out?
Not yet. I will.
Okay.
I will.
Time's a good healer. Exactly. I'm sure you guys will sort it out. All right, you're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Still to come, we are going to look ahead to this weekend's action. Josh Taylor takes on Ekow Essuman. Remember, that is live on talkSPORT. Moses Itauma in action on that card as well. But up next, we're going to talk about another heavyweight, Mr. Tyson Fury, and we're going to hear from his promoter, Frank Warren. Welcome back. You're listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Adi Oladipo, the great Gareth Davies. All right, let's switch to the top of the tree when it comes to heavyweight boxing. I am referring to the Gypsy King Tyson Fury, who has been making waves on social media once again. The Gypsy King posted on Monday alongside his father, John, with a pair of them on their way to what they called a business meeting. Let's hear from promoter Frank Warren. He spoke with Gareth at the weekend and provided an update on Tyson.
Are we starting to get a sense with Tyson that he's feeling something in the body, that he wants to come back?
I don't know. I mean, only he can answer that. I mean, you got to remember, he's in the gym all the time anyway. You know, since his comeback, you know, from the problems that he had when he vacated the title. Since then, he's lived in the gym, and it's very important for him, not just for the fighting aspect, but it's important for him for his mental health. It helped him and got him through a lot of problems, and so he's there. And I mean, you look at him; he's in tremendous condition.
Correct.
For me, you know, as I've always said, if he wants to fight, I'll support him, but that's got to be his choice. And as we are at the moment, you know, nothing's been made official about what he's doing, so we'll wait.
Do you wait for a call from him or a text from him? Is that the process at the moment? You want to give him his space, or
I texted him in the week. We had a little couple of messages going backwards and forwards. We had a conversation last week when he was on his way back from seeing Tommy fight in Hungary.
from Hungary? Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, I've spoken with him, and you know, he whatever he's going to do, he'll do. And as I say, he should be. There's no pressure on him. Certainly going to be from me because, two-time world champion, an unbelievable resume. Probably him and Usyk, the two best heavyweights of the 21st century at the moment, and. If he doesn't need to come back, but if he wants to, then certainly I'd be there to help him in all ways as I've always done.
Frank, and you're trying your hardest there, Gareth, but Frank not giving much away. What do we make of it? We saw a video 2 weeks ago where he posted that he was next to Sugar Hill, and Sugar Hill was there, and he said, "You know what this means." Now all of a sudden, him and Big John, and we haven't seen much from Big John in the last few months. He's now back. They're on the way to a business meeting. Is it more teases? Is it something completely different, like soccer aid? Like, what's he doing?
Well, I think the John and Tyson Fury thing is a business thing. I'm not sure that it's signing a deal to fight Anthony Joshua anytime in the next couple of weeks. But joining all the dots up, in terms of speaking to his management team behind the scenes, just the hints of what Frank Warren is saying at the weekend for us on Fight Night, that just all the different signs are that there's the itch is there and it needs scratching. Obviously, Big John Fury was not around for a while. He kept his counsel, but was there for the Hungary event for Tommy Fury and started talking about wanting to be in the corner for Tyson and the things that he'd helped in the corner. That was him doing his sell, his own marketing, for his own PR, for being in the corner for Tyson Fury's next fight, which will be against Anthony Joshua unless he decides to have a warm-up. But I don't think he should have a warm-up. I think the signs are there. And I've spoken to his management team. He's on the way back. And also, you look at him physically, he's stayed in the gym. The signs are there that he hasn't put on a lot of weight and he hasn't lost interest in the sport. He'll have seen the Conor Benn, Chris Eubank event. And I've got the feeling that they know as well that if they're going to do the Joshua fight, it's better to have it this October than it is next April. And that there's probably still a chance of getting the investment of Turkey Al Sheikh and the Saudi Arabians into what is still, regardless of what anyone else says, and I've forgotten what your view on it is. I know you want to see it, but it's still the biggest fight in boxing, commercially, and in terms of a generational closer.
Yeah, no doubt. I can't think of anything that even gets close to the size of it over here. And I've tried to kind of explain to some of my American friends, just like this is the only thing that rivals Premier League football, like over here.
Yeah.
Like it'll be on the sides of buses, it'll be on taxis, they'll be on morning shows. There isn't a stadium in the world big enough to hold it. That's how big it is. And as you say, they would have looked at, they're fans of the sport as well. They would have looked at what's going on with Eubank Ben, all that build up, and thought, 1 second, I wouldn't mind a bit of that. Neither of the guys were ringside for it. They've both of them have kind of been in the shadows, if you like. They haven't been to big boxing events recently. I think AJ went to the Canelo one, but they're itching. Both of them are itching. AJ looks like he's in shape, always in shape. But I think the point you made about Tyson is a great one. He's in shape, well, relatively speaking. Normally he can balloon up a little bit. He looks like he's decided to stay trim. This is happening, isn't it? I don't want to get too excited because something's happening.
No, it is. There's things on the move. My radar for it. I mean, some of it is instinct. 20% of it is instinct, but 80% of it is just talking to different people behind the scenes, and where I could almost say Tyson Fury is on the way back. I can almost say he is on the way back. This fight is going to happen in October.
Okay, Gareth, with your knowledge and experience, again, of just these things, where could that business meeting have gone to? Like, where play a game with me? Like, where have they gone for it? What is it? Could that have anything to do with the comeback? Or is that just something separate?
No, I think no, because it's not cryptic enough.
They've
gone to do. If you think that Tyson's only done a couple of commercial deals in his entire career with Spencer Brown, and one of them is Ferocity and the bars, the food bars and the drinks, could be something to do with that. The way they were dressed didn't look like they were going to sign a deal with Anthony Joshua. I think it's something genuinely to do with business, but all the other stuff. It's not just that. There's a lot of Instagram posts with Tyson Fury in the gym around people at the moment, sparring, doing 12 rounds, etc., that it wouldn't. He had two big losses last year. He had something to deal with. We all celebrated Alexander Usyk's success last year, but Tyson Fury, on both occasions, felt that he'd won, but we didn't hear him giving big interviews afterwards, lamenting about the loss and what he went through from the losses, which I thought was interesting. And I think those are interviews still to be done, those deep interviews on how he felt about, because I also know that behind the scenes, there have been messages from Anthony Joshua to Tyson Fury's management team, DMs. There have been talks behind the scenes with Tyson Fury's people about a third fight with Alexander Usyk.
That seems to be the bigger one.
Well,
I feel like I'm hearing more from Fury and Usyk about a potential trilogy than I'm hearing Fury. I don't think I've even heard Fury once mention AJ in the last 12 months.
Yeah, well,
it's been more AJ Fury and Eddie Fury, as opposed to Fury saying anything. I'm seeing Fury talking about Usyk, and I'm seeing Usyk talking about Fury. I'm like, as much as I'm getting excited for a potential Fury AJ, are we more likely to see a Fury Usyk?
No, we're not until that there is potential for a third fight, but we need. It's not we need to make that happen. We need Usyk to look very good against Daniel Dubois, and we need Tyson Fury to win against Anthony Joshua, and then we'll see that trilogy fight next April, and that will be the end of the era. Because those two fights, well, maybe not the first one, even though I had it close, 115, 114, or 114, 113 to Usyk. The second fight was close, even though it was comprehensively won by Alexander Usyk. I think the reason you're hearing that from Tyson Fury is because he wants to avenge defeat. I'm sure you'd hear it if he lost to Anthony Joshua, but I think there's Frank Warren is sitting back and not putting pressure on Tyson Fury, as is his wont. That's the stance he takes with Tyson. Spencer Brown Tyson Fury's manager talks to him all the time. There's an awful lot moving behind the scenes right now. It would not surprise me within the next month, given Anthony Joshua's got 2 months to go. I think he's already had the surgery, hasn't he? So I think in 6 weeks' time, he'll be ready to go into camp. I think within a few weeks, I think we'll hear talks, and I think we'll get a fight signed for October this year. I really do.
That would be that's what we want, isn't it? And that would be the
And
dream.
like you say, this isn't a fight that just captures sports fans. The whole axis, the whole diaspora of the parallel diasporas of the two men's careers, the Olympic gold for Anthony Joshua, the 13 years since, Tyson Fury's fall and rise, mental health issues, the whole thing, that their wins and their losses, the fact they've never come together, the parabola finally joining in the arches, that big arch at Wembley. It will be, to use a newspaper analogy, it'll be front, centre and back of all the news. It will be on the mainstream news. It will be on the adult political programmes. It will be everywhere, because there's so many things that it brings together in this modern generation. They're both mid-30s. They're both from the hipster generation, and they cause a lot of debate and a lot of fissures between people. It's a fight for me that caps a generation who are moving towards their 40th year.
Okay, just to put a cap on it, you mentioned October as potentially. Again, this is just sort of guesses and things being thrown out. You mentioned October. October is the opening of Riyadh season. We know that Turkey would love nothing more than to put this one on in Saudi Arabia because of the magnitude of it. Both sets of fans would fly out. Tyson Fury's last 3 fights have been in Saudi Arabia. I think 2 of AJ's last 3 fights have been in Saudi Arabia. A lot of fight fans would insist this on being at Wembley, right? 2 Brits. But how likely is it that this fight, if it were to be made, goes to Saudi?
Well, it's the final point to make about this, and it's the white elephant in the room. Of course, Wembley Stadium is the ideal place, but they'll do a 2-fight deal, and the second fight will be scheduled for Wembley. Because if Turkey Al Sheikh wants to be involved, this is the fight that earns them 100 million each. Even though it's not for a world title or any world title, it's the championship of each other. It's one of the big fights of the era that has to be made. And it puts other fights like Canelo and Crawford. This is why people are wrong to say, oh, this is a busted fight. It should have happened years ago. Yes, it should have. They're not wrong about that. But it's still enormous. It puts Canelo and Crawford into the shade in terms of how genuinely big it is, in terms of the numbers of people that will watch it. Because it's the heavyweights. And, you know, in some ways, and I don't want to put any noses out of joint with this comment, it's a bigger fight than Usyk and Dubois. Much as I'm very, very excited about that undisputed fight on July the 19th at Wembley Stadium, it's enormous because of what they both bring in terms of figures in the sport. So,
you're looking
a
at
really good point to make about Turkey Al Sheikh could open Riyadh season with it, and you probably would get 30,000 Brits travelling to Riyadh.
100%. 100%. AJ versus Fury. It's almost like the guaranteed sort of destination wherever they fight. I think Brits will travel for it.
That first Kingdom Stadium fight, and sorry to interrupt, that first Kingdom Stadium fight with 23,000 in there, or whatever it was.
Yeah, for Ngannou Fury.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah. It was like,
you know what it is? It was so different, wasn't it? It was just such a unique event. We hadn't seen anything like it before. And this would be the one that, again, if I'm Turkey and I've spent all these hundreds and hundreds of millions, I want this fight back in Saudi. It's just, I would want it back in Saudi.
Let's just say it. We don't say this often enough. You said about our podcast being great fun, and we love the support from the fans. And I do meet people that love our hour every week. We have got the greatest fans in the world for this sport right now, because nowhere else is doing what we're capable of doing in this country with our fans. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the Mexicans. It's as big as soccer, as big as football for the Mexicans. But you just look back over the last couple of years about what fans have produced for us in terms of events here, and it's just extraordinary. You know,
Yeah,
no other country in
the
the world
outplay.
could have 30,000 fans traveling over to an event in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, you're listening to Final Extra on talkSPORT 2. Next up, we're going to look ahead to this weekend's action. Josh Taylor taking on Ekow Essuman. Welcome back. You're listening to Final Extra on talkSPORT 2. Adi Oladipo, the great Gareth Davies. All right, Josh Taylor is back in action. We haven't seen Josh Taylor for a year. The last time was when he fought Jack Catterall in that defeat. It's been 2 defeats on the bounce for Josh Taylor. Some will say 3, and I would agree with that statement. So Jack Catterall, Teofimo Lopez, Jack Catterall. So this is now must-win territory for Josh Taylor, who's decided finally to move up to 147 pounds, a jump that I think he should have done a couple of years ago, but he is doing it this weekend. It is live on talkSPORT from the magnificent Hydro Arena in Glasgow. And we don't get many boxing events up in Scotland just because, well, we've been searching for that new big star. It was Ricky Burns. Ricky Burns passed it on to Josh Taylor, and no one else really took the baton on. There's been good fighters. Lee McGregor springs to mind, but it's needed a big one to come back, and I think this is a big one. Did you agree with the sentiment? Must win for Josh now. He can't have another defeat.
Well, this is a fight in which he hasn't fought for a year. This is a fight, Addy, for me, in which Josh Taylor gets to show against a very strong natural welterweight who he knows, who he's probably sparred, even though I think Ekow was a bigger fighter, a heavier fighter than Josh, who fought at lightweight, I think, in the Olympics. This is an opportunity to show how much he's got left, how much desire there is.
Yeah.
Because that welterweight division is a murderer's row right now, and there's a few golden geese there as well for big fights. Conor Benn and Ryan Garcia being the notable 2. There's big money fights if you fight those 2. And both of them are viable fights for Josh Taylor, given his style. He's a southpaw. But this, for me, is I'm going to pick him on points because I think he's very, very clever. He's going to engage. He's going to fight when Ekow boxes and box when Ekow fights. And I spoke to Ekow at the weekend on talkSPORT, and he's really ready for this. Resting heart rate of 36, by the way. I said, because he's so chill. He's a beautiful human being, Essuman. And I've got to say this well, because I want to give him a shout out. Ahara Davies was in the studio on Saturday night. And what a beautiful man he is as well. Going into prisons at the moment to speak to prisoners who are in for life. And I encouraged him to go and do that after his career and tell his story because he was a bad boy at one time. I just think Josh Taylor's got to pull out all the stops. Find Hank again, his alter ego, this week. It's going to be difficult because he and Ekow get on really well. They're good friends, and they respect each other. But I think Josh is good enough to show that he can do it at welterweight and have a couple of big fights before he hangs up the gloves and saddles off into the sunset. If he hasn't got it, I think it's the last of him.
Yeah, look, it's all about Josh, isn't it? And this isn't like being disrespectful to Ekow. Ekow's a very good fighter. Yeah. But Josh is the one that's been to the top of the mountain. I mean, undisputed at 140 pounds. And it was an undisputed run where he was fighting real good guys that are unbeaten. It wasn't, sometimes you get an undisputed guy who beats the champion with the belts and becomes undisputed. Josh picked up the belts one by one. But that was when was Ramirez? 2021, I think, the Ramirez fight. So has Josh got what he had 4 or 5 years ago? I hope he has, because you mentioned the welterweight division, and Josh is a name. I mean, Josh is a really good name. He's a name that's known in the States. He's a respected name as well. Again, undisputed. There was a time he was on the pound for pound list. So I'd like to think at 32, there is still something left. But Ekow will answer those. Ekow will give me a lot of information about that in the early rounds, because Ekow is a bit of a beast. I think I know Ekow's level. And if Josh doesn't get past Ekow, then I kind of feel like that could be that. But I like both, but I do want the story to continue for Josh.
Yeah, I do. For the simple reason that, look, I said it at the top of the show. Jaron Ennis is the number one in the division right now. Manny Pacquiao's about to fight Mario Barrios. Pacquiao, of course, has just landed in Los Angeles, and you know how old he is because his son's on the card with him. Emmanuel Pacquiao is fighting on the card. You've got Brian Norman there as a champion. Devin Haney's in the division. Harlem Eubank's moving up to fight at welterweight against Jack Catterall. That fight's about to take place. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Do I have to keep mentioning all these names? The division is on fire. So if Josh Taylor gets a victory on Saturday night and looks rejuvenated and looks strong with those extra 7 pounds at 10 stone 7 as opposed to 10 stone, and it's often made a difference for a lot of men of his age to go up to welterweight. This is a division in which he can end up with 2 massive fights. Josh Taylor against Conor Benn in the UK is a massive fight, Addy.
Yeah. No, there are some big ones for him.
Lopez wants to fight in the division now as well. Says he wants to leave 140. So it really could become the division.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. And, you remove... the thing is, you remove Boots Ennis from the division, and it's a really competitive division as well. I feel like Boots Ennis is almost the outlier because I think he's so much better than anyone else and bigger and stronger. But remove him, and it's actually competitive across the board. So just on it, as we wrap this fight, you're going for Josh to win on points, you think?
Yeah, in a tough fight. Yeah, in a very tough fight. Yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me if just because of his general output, he's very good at nicking rounds, as we know, as we saw in that first Catterall fight. And also, there's a trilogy there with Jack Catterall if he looks good, and Catterall beats Harlem Eubank, even though that's not guaranteed in my view. But yeah, I'm going with him on points. But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have it at that level anymore.
Agreed. It just happens, doesn't it? Father time, all the wars, the weight cuts, etc. It catches up with you on fight night. A man at the start of his career, as opposed to Josh at the end, is Moses Itauma. He takes on Mike Balogun. Mike Balogun, former NFL player, who's had a good run in boxing. He's only lost just the once. That was to Murat Gassiev. No shame in that. I think he got knocked out in the first round or something against Gassiev. But obviously, look, Moses, we all believe, is the future. So he's got to... I always feel like there's pressure on Moses now to look incredible every single fight.
Absolutely. And people keep mentioning this fight with Martin Bakole, which all well and good, but I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see it, but I don't know if it does a lot for Martin Bakole because I think he's going to get stopped by Moses Itauma inside 5 rounds.
Ooh! That's the clip right there. Can we clip that, please, producer? You think so?
Yeah, I do. And also, Moses Itauma is world champion by the end of next year.
See, I need... there's a lot there for me to take in. Gareth just hit me with a few... Mic drop. There's a lot. Okay, we all think Moses is that special. I agree. World champion next year is interesting. Can I play a game very quickly before we wrap? So Moses Itauma right now versus Hrgovic, who wins?
Moses Itauma. Stoppage inside 7 or 8 rounds.
Moses versus Joseph Parker.
Might be life and death that right now, but probably Moses Itauma.
This is incredible. Moses versus Daniel Dubois.
Ooh, Don Charles isn't going to like me for this, but Moses Itauma.
Oh my God. All right, I'm going to leave it there. That's incredible. I hope he's that guy. And I really want for him to do, and I think I really want Frank to do this. I need the American audience to see him because Moses has this kind of 1970s laid back, aggressive style that I think they'll like. I'm talking about not in the ring. I'm talking about his just demeanor outside the ring. and I think they would lap onto him. I think they would love him. And I really hope that.
I'm not sure because the American audience likes a bad boy as a boxer.
Okay,
The two
maybe. I think they might have had enough of them.
B-Hop the alien playing the villain or the heel, Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson. They all played the heel as the boxer. I think the American audience need a bad boy as a boxer. In my view.
But you could be right. You could be right. I feel like maybe they've had enough of those guys, and they want a George Foreman stoic killer. And I feel like Moses could be that. Who knows? But that was very interesting, your picks there. I'm not going to ask you about AJ and Fury. We'll leave those ones for another day because I feel like you might upset a few people if you give those answers. All right, you've been listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Big thanks, as always, to Gareth for joining me today. Ended the show on a bombshell. I loved it. And remember, if you've missed any of this show, you can listen to it as a podcast. Find it under the Fight Night banner on the talkSPORT app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts from. We will be back next week.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.